Good afternoon to all. Very, very good afternoon to all. The topic that I wish to talk about today is a question that is raising a lot of confusions amongst uh, scholars. Among scholars, and the issue that we need to be discussing today is whether the queer theorist can be considered a feminist or not. Is whether a queer theorist can be considered a feminist or not. Okay, so when we consider this, really something that you can always think about. We can go back to 1960s, or let's go back to 1949, when Ludicium Sex was published. Ludicium Sex was published in 1949, that is the second sex. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, second wave feminists has not taken much steps into progressing with Beauvoir. I'm telling you why. Because in Beauvoir's Ludicium Sex, in Beauvoir's the second sex, what happened is that Beauvoir mentioned a very interesting statement. What is that statement? One is not born a woman, one becomes a woman. That's where Beauvoir became very famous with that statement. But if we deconstruct, that's where post-structuralist feminism becomes hugely important. Because if we deconstruct that sentence, if we deconstruct that statement, that one is not born a woman, one becomes a woman, then we can say that both male and female are not born a woman, but they become woman. So it's like saying that a female is not born a woman, female becomes a woman. Similarly, a male is not born a woman, male becomes a woman. So it therefore creates a lot of theoretical possibilities for transgender theorists. But then I am going ahead of myself. Meanwhile, I'll focus on these two sentences. What are these two sentences? That male is not born a woman, male becomes a woman. So in order for you to become a woman, listen to this very carefully. In order for you to become a woman, you do not necessarily have to be born with vagina. I'll say this again. In order for you to be born or to become a woman, you do not have to be born female. You can become a woman without being born female. This part is very interesting. Similarly, you can become a woman without being born male. So it doesn't matter whether you are born male, that is, you are born with penis, a masculine genitalia, or you are born female, that is, you are born with vagina, a supposedly female genitalia. It doesn't matter. You can become a woman. So that becoming of womanhood is not subject to the genitalia that you are born with. That you are born with. So therefore, anyone can do this becoming, so that this becoming can be done by any human being, be it a body with penis or be it a body with vagina. It doesn't matter. Now towards the third quarter, this will become fun. Hi Rakhi, it's very nice to see you. Very nice to catch up with you. I'll be using my handkerchief to sort of make my face acceptable to all. So it's something. Thank you, Rakhi, for tuning in. I could say many people who are joining in this live, and some of them are listening to me, probably behind a veil, behind a curtain. I would be very happy if you could introduce me in the live chat. I won't mind knowing who are my fans, who are my secret fans. So, always listening to me from behind cloud. So thank you, Rakhi, for making it known that you were there listening to my lecture. Okay, so now I would take this opportunity. To mention something very interesting that happened towards the third quarter of the 20th century. Toward the third quarters of the 20th century. What happened towards the third quarter of the 20th century? Now, towards the third quarter of the 20th century, there were not all of them, but there were a few second wave feminists. This bit is very, very interesting. Something happened towards the third quarter of the 20th century, last century. What happened? That few of the second wave feminists, I repeat myself, not all the second wave feminists, but few of the second wave feminists, they started saying, no. I mean, how can you be a woman? How can you be a woman who is not born with vagina? That is to say, those second wave feminists, they started saying that, okay, fine, if you want to be qualified as a woman, you have to be born with a vagina. You have to be born with a vagina. Now, I would name a certain feminist called Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I'm sure you all are familiar with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Okay, and what did Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie say? Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie in a BBC interview said that women are women, trans women are not women. I'll say this again. What did she say? She said that women are women, but trans women are not women. Fine. Now, when you say this, that trans women are not women, how do you base your assumptions on? Or what is the basis of your assumption? Or what is the basis of your theorization? How could you say that trans women are not women? Those second-wave feminists are saying that trans women are not women because thank you, Rakhi. Thank you so much, so much. You are so kind. I mean, you are so kind to me. I believe you are living in Lalbagh right now, and 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 I wish you a very, very happy domestic life. And you were my student probably 5 or 6 years ago, if I remember correctly. And there were other students whom I cannot remember, but I can remember clearly your name, Rakhi. You used to come to my place to study. Okay, thank you, Rakhi. I would be very happy if you could sit through the entire lecture and pass your valuable feedbacks and live chat. Thank you for your time. So, something happened around that time, and in that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie said that yeah, it was 2012 and 13 batch. Yeah, it was 12 and 13 batch. Yeah, I remember. Okay, and what did Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie say? That trans women are not real women. Trans women are not women. Why? Because trans women are not women according to those second-wave feminists, because trans women do not have vagina. This is very, very interesting. Trans women do not have vagina. Okay. So therefore trans women are not real women. Now, who are real women then? Who are real women? Okay, fine. If I agree that trans women are not real women, then who are real women? Real women, according to those second-wave feminists, are women who are born with vagina. Real women are those women who are born with vagina. So you cannot become a woman if you are born with penis. So this kind of feminism, very, very unfortunately, listen to this with lots of care and love. So this kind of feminist theorization, this kind of theorization from second wave feminism, they are going back to an old patriarchal disease. They are going back to pretty old patriarchal disease. And what is that disease? That disease is, this is the name of the disease, and this is asymptomatic patriarchy. I will explain the difference between symptomatic patriarchy and asymptomatic patriarchy a little later. But those women are not real women because they are not born with vagina. So if we theorize feminism like that, then those feminists, then those second-wave feminists are unfortunately, very sadly, very pathetically, they are going back to one old patriarchal binary. They are going back to one old patriarchal binary. And what is that patriarchal binary? That sex is biological and gender is cultural. They are going back to that old patriarchal binary, that sex is biological and gender is political, gender is social, gender is cultural. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is absolute classic patriarchy. I'm sorry to say this, but this is absolutely classic patriarchy. This is absolutely classic patriarchy. And why do I say this is absolutely classic patriarchy? Because it is telling you and me that penis is not an organ. Penis is an index of man and masculinity. So thereby, this kind of second wave feminism, which goes back to sex is biological, gender is social binary, what they are doing, they are sexing penis as male. But remember one thing, penis is neither male nor female. Then what is penis? Penis is just an organ through which urine comes out. Penis is just an organ through which hormone comes out. That's it. We don't gender and sex ear. We don't gender and sex nose. We don't gender and sex teeth. We don't gender and sex the eyes. But then why do we do this sexing of penis? Now, the trouble of sexing penis as male, the trouble of sexing vagina as female is that if you do that, then what you are doing, what you are basically doing, you are denying. That's what you are doing. It's a very dangerous path to take. You are denying trans people their identity. You are denying trans people their identity. And why are you denying trans people their identity? And how are you denying trans people their identity? This is how or this is why you are denying trans people their identity. Because I know many trans men who become pregnant, who do not menstruate, and I know many trans women who also do not menstruate, but they can impregnate men. Okay? So if you are a trans man, listen to this with care and concentration. If you are listening to me right now, if you are a trans man, right? If you are a trans man, then you can become pregnant. So neither the pregnancy nor the motherhood or not the vagina that make you a woman. Similarly, neither the ability to impregnate nor the presence of penis make you man. So you are doing two disasters. You are doing a collateral damage, should I say. You are doing a collateral damage. Okay. And what is the collateral damage you are doing? You are the damage one, you are going back to the second wave feminism, the pre-second wave feminism. The sex is biological and gender is social. No, sex is not biological. Sex is also cultural. Sex is also social. Sex is also political. Right? So therefore, and now many of you must be wondering, why do I think that sex is also social, sex is also cultural, sex is also political? I'm thinking sex is social, cultural, political because of the fact that vagina has got nothing to do with womanhood. Vagina has nothing to do with your identity as a woman. Right? So if you say that vagina is the identity of woman, then you are doing a violent act. What is that violent act you are doing? You are doing a violent act because you are telling a trans woman that you are not a woman because you do not have vagina. Now, who the hell are you to tell a trans woman that she is not a woman because she does not have vagina? How do you decide that vagina should be the index of womanhood? On what basis do you then decide that vagina should be the parameter of womanhood? If you decide that vagina is the identity of female, then you are telling a trans woman that you are not a woman because you do not have vagina. So if a trans woman says that she is a woman, then she is a woman. And this relationship between womanhood and vagina is patriarchal. Patriarchy has attached vagina to female body. Patriarchy has attached female identity to vagina. Patriarchy has attached womanhood to vagina. So therefore, let me use a very sophisticated Marxist theorization to explain what I have been talking about now. Let us understand vagina as the base. Let us understand vagina as the base. And the entire superstructure is the womanhood, that becoming. Then what Judith Butler has done in Gender Travel is that she has removed that base. She has, the post-structuralist feminist that she is, what she has done, she has removed that base. And while removing that base, what she has done, she has detached the identity of woman from the attachment of vagina. Now, this delinking, D-E-L-I-N-K-I-N-G, now this delinking of vagina from womanhood, or this delinking of womanhood from vagina, makes the identity of trans people possible. Makes the identity of trans people possible. On this very note, let me refer to you a very dangerous tweet of 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 what's the name of Harry Potter's author? I have forgotten the name. Let me remember the name. Yeah, her name is. I have forgotten the name of the Harry Potter's novelist. But she tweeted something. Can anyone help me with the name of Harry Potter's novelist? I have forgotten her name. I'm sorry, I should not have forgotten her name, but I am trying to remember a very controversial tweet of the novelist who wrote Harry Potter. Oh, I remember. It's J.K. Rowling, right? Correct me if I am wrong. Correct me if I am mistaken. It's J.K. Rowling. Now, J.K. Rowling tweeted few months back that let us be united. Let us be united. Just a minute. I'm sorry, I'm extremely sorry. I had to answer one email. So, what's the name of that novelist of Harry Potter? It's J.K. Rowling. Correct me if I am wrong. It's J.K. Rowling. Now, few months ago, J.K. Rowling tweeted. What did she tweet? She tweeted that let us be united for those people who menstruate. And many feminists became very excited with that tweet. Oh, this is amazing. This is so exciting. J.K. Rowling is asking all the women to be united together. নারীরা নারীর পাশে থাকবে, নারীরা এক হয়ে থাকবে, নারীরা নারীদেরকে এর সাথে ইউনিটি বন্ড কনসলিডেট করবে। এর থেকে আর কি হতে পারে? সব নারী একসাথে মিলে বলবে আমরাই নারী, আমরাই পারি। Fantastic. I am totally in love with this kind of gelling where women are coming together. That's brilliant. That's fabulous. But one thing you need to understand. One thing you really need to understand. What you need to understand is that there are many women who do not menstruate. Since when menstruation becomes the prerequisite of womanhood? I had no idea since when menstruation became the prerequisite of womanhood. I didn't know that. That's a breaking news, because the last time I checked, menstruation had got nothing to do with the identity of becoming a woman. So if you are attaching womanhood to menstruation, if you are attaching menstruation to womanhood, what dangerous thing you are doing, You are telling the world that you are not a woman because you do not have vagina, you do not have period, you do not menstruate, you cannot become mother, you cannot become a heterosexual married woman with a husband, and therefore you disqualify as a woman. So therefore, these second wave feminists, they assume that whoever will be woman will be a feminist, whoever will be a feminist will be heterosexual woman, and whoever will be heterosexual woman will marry a husband, and whoever will be a heterosexual woman with husband will reproduce, and whoever will reproduce will become mother, and whoever will mother will become the great women that would uphold the value system that sex is biological and gender is social. I would have to mention some other names of the theorists like German Greer, like Bell Hooks, along with J.K. Rowling. I don't know how J.K. Rowling has become a woman, has become a feminist. I have to name Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I have a lot of respect for Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, but I'm shocked with the way Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has said that trans women are not women, are not real women. Then who are real women? What is the reality of womanhood? What is the reality of gender? So if we have to understand, then we have to go back to one thing that they have at the back of their mind when they say that trans women are not real women, trans women are not actual women. And this kind of patriarchal comment from the second wave feminists are unfortunately based on sex is biological and gender is cultural binary. No, sex is not biological. Sex is as much social as gender is. Then sex is biological. No, sex is not biological. Sex is also social. Now, if sex is social, gender is social, then what's the difference between sex and gender? I'm telling you the difference between sex and gender is that there is no difference between sex and gender. There is no difference between sex and gender. Sex and gender, both are lies. Both are fake. Both are patriarchal lies. Because Penis and vagina are not male and female organs. It's just an organ like any other body parts. Penis becomes male because patriarchy regards it male. So it is the reading of patriarchy that makes penis male, that makes vagina female. And on that basis, we create the superstructure of gender, and on that basis, we create the superstructure of desire and sexuality. So when we think that, oh, apnar chele hoyeche, excuse me, oh, apnar chele hoyeche, what you are basically saying that, no, you have become the father or mother of a child who has penis, which is regarded as male genitalia, which would go on to become a man, which would go on to become heterosexual man, which would desire therefore woman, which would therefore become father, which would therefore impregnate the opposite sex with female genitalia, vagina, and which would become a patriarch, therefore heterosexual, heteronormative patriarch. So, and this is how the entire assumption, or should I say entire superstructure, if I am allowed Marxist theorization, entire superstructure or the entire imarat, the entire superstructure of sexuality, desire and gender is built on the base called penis and vagina. And not only penis and vagina, but the way base is sexed male, but the way penis is sexed male by patriarchy, and the way vagina is sexed female by patriarchy. So this is how we continue to deny the trans women their existence, the trans men their existence. And there's an interesting term called TARPs, trans exclusionary radical feminists. And who are they? They are those second wave feminists who go back to sex is biological, gender is social binary, which is extraordinarily asymptomatically patriarchal. Now I would end this lecture with explaining the difference between symptomatic patriarchy and asymptomatic patriarchy. Symptomatic patriarchy is the patriarchal tendency of those people who are explicitly patriarchal. You could tell them from the naked eyes that they are patriarchal. But there are people who are patriarchal, but they would not manifest their patriarchy to the naked eyes of you and me. So they are much like COVID patients who are suffering from COVID, but they are asymptomatic. That is to say, nobody would notice that they have lost their smell, they have lost their taste. Nobody would suspect them as a COVID patient, but they are COVID patient, they are asymptomatic. And what is the collateral damage of asymptomatic patriarchy and asymptomatic patient? Is that if you are asymptomatic patriarchal, then I would not be on my guard to meet you. In fact, I would think you are absolutely perfectly fine, you are absolutely perfectly okay. So I would not put my guard on to meet you. But if you are symptomatic patriarchal people, if you are symptomatic COVID patient, then I would say, দেখো ওর গন্ধ শুনতে পাচ্ছে না, দেখো ওর স্বাদ নিতে পারছে না, দেখো ওর কাশি হচ্ছে, দেখো ওর শ্বাসকষ্ট হচ্ছে, তাহলে ওর করোনা হয়েছে. So let us be wary of him. Let us maintain some distance from him. Let us be careful of him. So this is how we have two categories of patriarchal people. Like patriarchal people, I am not worried about symptomatic patriarchal people because they are very easy to decipher, they are very easy to identify. But I'm more worried about asymptomatic patriarchal people because they are equally dangerous, they are equally infectious, but uh, you would not identify that they are patriarchal people. Unfortunately, the TARF feminists, trans-exclusionary radical feminists, along with those second wave feminists which go back to sex is biological, gender is social binary, are asymptomatic patriarchal people, are classic asymptomatic patriarchy. And what do? They would not be, in fact, you would think that they are a feminist. You would think that they are a feminist. But since you would not suspect them as a patriarchal people, so you would not be careful. So as a result, what they do or what they would do, they would infect more people. So and even people amongst professions of lawyers, even people from the professions of teachers, even people from the professions of scholars, even people from the professions of many other practitioners, even people who claim themselves to be feminists, they can be infected with asymptomatic patriarchy, and they can spread that infection because patriarchy is very much like a drug-resistant, self-mutating coronavirus, and it infects particularly through those people who are suffering from asymptomatic patriarchy. And it is the duty of queer theory, it is the duty of masculinity studies, it is the duty of transgender studies, it is the duty of trans-masculinity studies, it's the duty of intersectional feminism to identify symptomatic patriarchy and more specifically to asymptomatic patriarchy, like the TARPs, like those second wave feminists who keep on hovering in a room like an elephant telling you that sex is biological, sex is biological, sex is biological, gender is social, gender is social, gender is social. They identify those asymptomatic patriarchal people, and if we continue to update second wave feminism towards a third wave feminism through queer theory, through masculinity studies, then we would be updating our booster doses, we would be updating our Covishields and Covaxins to fight the constantly mutating drug resistance coronavirus called patriarchy. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have enjoyed your session with me on whether we should think queer theorist as a feminist. Absolutely, queer theorist is very important third wave feminist, as it were, who are updating their Covaxin, Covishields in the form of booster doses through masculinity studies, through transgender studies, through trans-masculinity studies. Thank you so much, and hope to catch you up very soon. Hope to catch you up, some of you, in offline version very, very quickly. Thank you. Take care of your health in terms of thank you in terms of be wary of asymptomatic COVID, but more importantly, be more wary of asymptomatic patriarchy, because some of the doctors are getting infected, much like some of the second wave feminists are getting infected in COVID, called asymptomatic patriarchy.